everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I am here to review Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Now, this is the sequel to the great DreamWorks movie that came out. I can't remember the time that it came out, but it was not that long ago after the last Shrek movie it came out. Spin-off from the Shrek movie, Puss in Boots, starring the iconic Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots. Now, Puss in Boots, to me, was one of my favorite characters. Like, I remember when Shrek 2 came out. Now, first of all, I love Shrek 1 and 2. I think, if you guys have listened to me long enough, you know I'm a huge animation fan. I thought that the original Shrek and Shrek 2 were just some of the most creative ideas in Hollywood, in history of Hollywood. To take the fairy tale characters from all these different tales and whatnot, and to put them in a world where those tales exist and those tales happened, but to put a small little realistic spin on it, and not only a small little realistic spin, but then to put a kind of pop culture spin on it, with the references to many things in pop culture. With what was it? What was the fair? God damn it! Where was that version of Hollywood? Wasn't it like Fairy Away or something? Far, far away, like the far, far away. Like billboard being just like the Hollywood billboard. Like, all these things were so creative and so unique. I mean, Mike Myers did an amazing job as Shrek for a while there. Obviously, Eddie Murphy's Donkey. But to me, my favorite character in that series, in the movie, especially the sequel, was Puss in Boots. Because first of all, it's already the inside joke, right? Like, some people don't know this because Zorro came out so long ago. Some people don't remember that. Like, some people really don't even know who Antonio Banderas is. But for those of us like me, we know Antonio Banderas. Well, the first time I'd ever seen him in something, it was like, that guy's cool, was Zorro. Zorro and the Mask of Zorro. And he was so smooth and so cool and so charismatic and so charming. And he would do his whole Zorro thing where he makes the Z. And it was always so cool. Sorry. I was doing a little dusting earlier. I'm trying to get over it. Some of it got down the pipe. But either way, so the Puss in Boots character is literally a spoof / homage, if you want to say, to the Zorro character. Even going as far as to get Antonio Banderas, the actor who played Zorro, to play this character. From his Spanish style with the rapier and the boots and the feather and the hat and like, all of it is kind of a like inside joke / poking fun at the Zorro movies. And I always thought that was so cool. But also with Puss, that I think was so cool, especially, like, you didn't really get to see it in Shrek 2. Not that much. But in his actual solo film, Puss in Boots, you really got to see him shine. And, like, it's very rare. It doesn't happen that often that an animated character can be in a spinoff. Obviously, the Minions, like it or hate it, those are pretty much the biggest spinoff. Like, I think both of the Minions movies made $1 billion each. But it's rare that a character spins off and becomes an actual successful, like, character, especially in the animated field. Like, you don't see that very often. It's not like you're seeing a bunch of movies, like, about the Fearsome Five out of Kung Fu Panda or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really see a lot of spin-off characters from animated films spin off to go do other things. So Puss in Boots was so good, though, because he was a character. He's the one character in the Shrek franchise who you feel, and plus the thing about Puss in Boots is that in the sequel, you don't really get to learn more about him in the Shrek 3 and forever in the final Shrek, whatever. You don't really get to learn a lot about Puss's backstory, but it's always hinted, especially in that second Shrek movie, that, he's this legendary outlaw. Like, there's a whole bunch of shit. Like, there's him being a legendary outlaw kind of lended itself to him having a mythos and there being so much more about him that it was like, it smoothly went to it being a movie. It just made sense for it to be a movie. And having a star like Antonio Banderas, and then you get Salma Hayek to come on and play the love interest, reconnecting that desperado fucking flame from that movie. I still laugh to this day. Me and Steph still talk about that. One of my all-time favorite movie scenes is in Desperado, and when they're young and, nuclear hot, Salma Hayek is walking the street and two dudes crash their car, and they don't even look at each other because they're looking at her. I was like, yeah, that's hot. You think you're hot? You're not two dudes crash into each other and hop out and still holler at you hot. Now that's hot. But, so yeah, it was cool seeing them reconnect, so that was cool. But so the original Puss in Boots, loved it. Had a blast with it. Puss was great. acrobatic. Love the story. With Humpty Dumpty and whatnot. That whole story, the Beanstalk, it was a great story. I never thought we'd actually get a sequel. It's been so long since that movie came out. But I was excited. I saw the trailers, thought that they looked good, thought the animation looked great, and I'm happy to say the movie is fucking phenomenal. I loved it. This might be my favorite. This might be one of my favorite movies of the year. Puss in Boots is the shit. As far as animation goes, it is amazing. I am a huge animation fan. And they do this interesting comic book panel-like thing. Sometimes it's straight animation, just like the original. But often than not, especially when the action is going down, they do this like interesting like comic book frame rate kind of thing that is so fucking cool and badass. Like, this movie has badass action sequences. And it's an animated movie, yes, about a fucking talking Spanish cat. But that talking Spanish cat has some badass action sequences, particularly his sequences against a wolf character who I won't spoil the identity of. But they have some badass sequences. I swear to God, this movie made me want to get a rapier. Like, you know, out of all the weapons and fantasy and whatnot, the rapier is like, okay, it's a rapier. It's kind of like delicate. But watching Puss swing around that fucking rapier like a fucking like a expert, which he is, I was like, man, that rapier it looks so fucking cool. Him using that rapier looks so cool. But anyways, the story of this one, it takes place maybe years after the original movie, which, by the way, spoiler alert, apparently the original Puss in Boots, which is technically a prequel, this one takes place after the events of the Shrek movies. So, like, Shrek movies, if you watch the first Puss in Boots and you watch this one, you have to know, in between, Shrek 1 and 2 happened. At least Shrek 1 and 2 happened. So Puss has met Shrek and Donkey and everything. He's just gone off to do his own thing, like you figure he would. But either way, so this movie takes place years after the original. Puss is still an outlaw. He's still out saving the day. He's still out kicking ass, partying, living that Puss in Boots life. And he dies. But he didn't die because he came back because, as the saying goes, cats have 9 lives. But Puss is down to his last life. And you know, really battling with his own mortality. We've seen that story before. The badass outlaw, whatnot, has to battle with the fact that he's not that guy anymore. That no matter how much he's willing to do, his body's willing to do, his body just can't do it anymore. And mortality starts to scare him. So Puss kind of retires and goes to live at this crazy cat lady's house and becomes a domesticated cat. You know, he grows out a beard and shit. It's kind of like I say, it's real in the way they shoot him going to it's pretty much prison. That's the way they shoot it. It's like he's going to prison, and it's kind of funny. But long story short, eventually Puss hears about this fallen star, and as you know, wishing upon a fallen star is a thing. Of course, in this fairy tale world, it's a legit thing. This fallen star, and he hears about people who are trying to get to this fallen star, and he thinks to himself, this time I'm going to get my 9 lives back. I'm going to find this fallen star, I'm going to wish for my 9 lives back, and I'm going to get them back. But of course, there are other people looking for this star. Goldilocks and the three bears, who are a bunch of asshole thieves. Returning Salma Hayek as Softpaws. Like, there's a lot going on. There's a lot more people who are interested in this fallen star than just Puss. So it's a race to get to this star and get the wish. Now, there are obviously some other things. There's some other character beats and whatnot in this. But overall, this movie is better than the original. The action sequences are better. The story is great. The actual lessons and like morals of it, which I think animated movies do a lot better than actual live action movies, ironically, because a lot of times animated movies are all about the lessons, and this one is one of those, or multiple lessons. I mean, loving what's in front of you, because Puss is having an existential crisis. He is. He's having a crisis of conscience, or like just a crisis in general of like his legend, because that's kind of one of the big plots of the movie is like, he's so obsessed with his own legend that at the end of the day, and it's one of those things too where at the end of the day, you have no one at home to love. You're this big legend, you're this huge legend, and you have no one to go home to. and he's kind of obsessed with his own legend at the beginning of the movie. And obviously you can kind of see the arc that the movie's going to take. But Antonio Banderas, all the actors in this did a great job. Like I said, I don't got a lot of any enough great things to say about this movie. Puss in Boots was awesome. I give Puss in Boots a 10 out of 10. Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, gets a 10 out of 10 for me. It's a smooth hour and 35 minutes. I mean, it goes by. It's just a blast, dude. It really is. It's a fun blast. And oh, one other thing. This movie is mature as fuck. They push the PG. I'm telling you, there are some things, and Seth might comment in the comment section, in this movie that are like, whoa! There are some phrases, innuendo, violence, deaths. Spoiler alert, somebody gets shot with a unicorn horn and blows up to confetti. And not like casually, like brutally. I was like, whoa! So yeah, prepare for that. If you take the kids to go see this movie, just know it's a little violent. Just to let you know. Anyways, thank you guys for the Great Movie Show. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.